Hello, I'm Bill O'Day, and this is Our City, Our Voice, a podcast where we talk about issues going on in Jersey City and Hudson County. Some are fun issues like sports, recreations. Some are tougher issues. We've tackled issues of problems with Medicaid and problems of sexual violence that go on in our community. Today, we're going to talk about our young people and the importance of having programs to help our young people, especially our young people who might get in trouble, who might make mistakes, but whose lives we want to save. So before we get into that, I just want to do a little bit of some public service announcements. Hudson County offers again this year free summer camps. In Lincoln Park alone, we have tennis, soccer, basketball, and volleyball. To get more information, you can call 201-915-1388, Monday to Friday between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. So if you have a young person that you need to want to get in camps, most camps are from the ages of 6 to 14 or 15. They're great camps. They're great for our kids. So when we come back, we have a great guest, Saundra Robinson Green. She's got an amazing life story, but she's also the founder and CEO of Connected V.I.N.E. So we're going to be back with Saundra Robinson Green in a few moments. Welcome back to Our City, Our Voice, a podcast where we talk about issues in Jersey City and Hudson County. My guest, again, is Saundra Robinson Green, the Connected V.I.N.E. She's the CEO and she founded it. Saundra, tell me a little, well, first I want to just mention a little bit about the legacy from your mom. So in 1972, I think it was? 73, a famous court case, Robinson versus Cahill. Your mom took on the governor of the state of New Jersey on behalf of one of your siblings.
Yes.
Because funding for children in cities and urban areas was not being provided. It took a lot of courage to do that lawsuit, and she won.
Yes, she did.
And now in all urban areas, though, on a different show, we'll talk about how Jersey City is getting screwed on the amount of state aid we should get compared to the Pattersons and the other large cities in the state of New Jersey. But without that lawsuit and without the courage of your mom, we never would have maybe had the money we have today for our urban areas. So tell me how old you were when that, and any little memories you have, because you were very young when that happened.
Yes, I was. Good morning, Bill. Thank you for having me. I will start by saying that during the time that my mom filed the lawsuit, I was only 10 years old when she won. The lawsuit was actually filed in 1962.
Wow.
I was born in 69.
Wow.
But she did not win until 1973.
Wow.
During that time, as a young child, I do remember and recall that my mom was very active in politics. She actually was on the campaign trail with the late, great Mayor Glenn Cunningham.
When he first ran.
And
I think he first ran for freeholder.
Oh, yes. Yes, he did. And during
70s.
that time, she was actually on the campaign trail with him.
Nice.
I recall the campaign, the history, the floats that they were on, they would just kind of ride through Booker T. At that time, you could ride through Booker T.
Right.
And during that time, she found out that she was battling breast cancer.
Wow.
To my knowledge, from what my siblings at the time did tell me, it was at the day that they brought me home from the hospital is when she found out that she was battling or had breast cancer.
Wow.
I am the youngest and the only living child of Betty Ernestine Robinson, and there are 9 of us. So I am the youngest and the only living child of Ernestine Betty Robinson, and again, just the youngest of 9 is very devastating. Throughout
How old were you when your mom passed?
10 years old.
Wow.
I was 10, and she died July 29th, 1969.
Wow.
And I literally could not, fathom living without my mom.
Sure.
So growing
Sure.
up during that time, the oldest of my siblings at the time was 18. She raised all of us
Wow.
within Booker T.
Wow.
72 Fremont Street, apartment 129 is where I
Wow.
grew up.
Wow.
And it was very difficult for us to understand, being the youngest of one of her siblings, we could not understand why this would happen. And it just kind of took us for another turn with the same work that I'm doing today. It resonated within my family with some of my siblings just falling into drugs. Another sibling of mine had a criminal background, and he ended up passing away while being incarcerated.
Wow.
And the responsibility of the children that they had just fell right in my lap.
So talk about that a little bit. So
Yeah.
how many of your siblings' children did you become the mother to and raise?
There were
I think that's an
9.
amazing part of your story.
Yes, there were 9 siblings. I have 2 biological children,
Okay.
but I raised 9, and then I became a foster parent to my great niece.
Wow.
Yes, she's my great niece because her mother too fell into the system and had to do a little time.
Wow.
And I was given custody of her at the age of 4 days old.
Wow.
Up until she
Wow.
turned 5.
Wow.
And she was reunified with her mom. And their story is beautiful because they are flourishing, they're doing well, and everyone in the family has grown. Most of the children that I raised have attended college
Great.
and graduated.
Great. Wow.
My oldest daughter graduated from Howard University, and then my son, he graduated from Felician. So there's a plethora of
The son
information.
is a photographer. See that?
Yes,
Very good.
he graduated
Very good.
from
Very good.
from Felician College, and now he's a
He
photographer.
does a great job. And he does a great Juneteenth event.
Yes, he does.
Which we work with.
And we're looking
Before
forward
we
to
met, him and I worked. We worked on that
that.
last
He
year. So.
shared that with me.
Yeah, he did a great job. So like, it was hard. You're 10 years old. You lose your mom. You talked about some of your siblings. The effect of losing a parent at that young age can have a
Yes.
devastating effect on it. Is there any reason you think? I mean, besides God, right? We
Yes.
believe that God never gives us more than we can handle.
No more than we can bear.
And you like took up a mantle. You have 7 children that love you as deeply as they would love any mother whose womb they came out of.
Yes.
I think that that's important because there are so many children, especially urban areas like Jersey City, that are in that same situation, and giving them that love. I could sense that from the first time I met you is so critically important to do. I just wanted to make a note because you mentioned Glenn. You know, I met Glenn in 1981. I was still in college.
Okay.
It was my first election I worked on. He got elected to the city council. I became a council aide. Him and I became very close from then till the day that Glenn passed.
Wow.
4 years later, he became the president of the city council. I got
Okay.
elected to the city council. I can still know where he used to live. He lived at 230 Bergen Avenue, you know,
Wow.
right across from Snyder.
Okay.
But yeah, I have a lot of great memories of Glenn.
He's a great man.
Yeah, he really was.
Yes.
And he was a humble man.
Yes, he was.
What was great about Glenn is that he was a humble man, and I always loved and respected that about him. He was never better than anyone else, and he was in the room. And so tell me about what inspired you to found Connected V.I.N.E, and then a little bit about Connected V.I.N.E. What do you do?
Okay.
And when did you start it?
Yes, the Connected V.I.N.E mentoring support organization was founded in August of 2017.
Okay.
And that came about basically because of my why. And I'll talk a little bit about my why, because my why actually originated from the fact that I was a 10-year-old girl without a mom.
Right.
And
Right.
that little 10-year-old girl was very lost
Sure.
and transitioned in life. And after I had become a foster parent, and she was reunified with her mom, in the interim, I would go to the detention centers and visit. And of course, DC Youts, District Chief Youts, would always let us in. I was going with my church in the beginning, and then I began to go on my own when I moved to Elizabeth. Unbeknownst to me, the Hudson County Detention Center had moved to Morris County, I believe it's
for
juvenile.
Right.
And in Unit 1 was the girls' unit, and the other units were the boys. So she would always allow us to go into Unit 1. And this particular day, after the young baby was reunified with her mom, I asked God the question, what's next for my life?
Wow.
Where do I go next? And loud and clear, I heard, go back to the detention center. And that day I went back. Bill, it was amazing because there were 9 young ladies in a detention center on that day. My badge was reinstated. DC Youts was so excited to see me. And she said, I have a group of girls that you need to meet.
Wow.
And when I went in there, all 9 young ladies were in there for human sex trafficking, falsified their age, said that they were older than what they were. And upon the arrest, they found out that they were actually 14, 15, 16. They were not 18, 19, 20. They were in their young teens. And from that day on, it was my goal to pour into them and allow them to understand that your body is your temple.
Right.
And you are worth more than your circumstances.
Right.
And from that day, I basically told them, if you stay connected to me and I stay connected to God, this is a win-win situation.
So God sent you there because the reality for those young women, they should not have been in a facility. They're victims.
Yes, they are.
They were victims.
Yes, they are.
You know, and shame on the system, because at that age, you don't even realize.
You don't.
You know, I've had people in my life that they were not into sex trafficking, but found themselves sexually abused as at an early teenage and didn't even realize what it was.
Absolutely.
And when you told them they were raped, they were like, no, but they were raped. And these young women whose lives you went in there to save, they also are just victims.
Yes, they are.
And the system should never be putting them into a set. They should find families for them, because obviously there's a disconnection at their family. I only have a minute to go in this segment. When we come back, we're going to get more into the Connected V.I.N.E, what you do, what resources you have, what resources you need to make your program even better. And, you know, before I met you, I've always been a fighter on the county level about the need to do more programming at juvenile detention centers.
Yes.
We call it a Hudson County Correctional Center. If you're an adult, we call it a Hudson County, or now wherever they're in Newark or in Essex or in
Essex
Morris.
County
Detention. So if you're a youth, you get detained.
Yes.
Like thrown in something. But if you're an adult, we're going to correct you. And I know all the work you do, and some of the things that I work are important to focus on the correction and rehabilitation. We'll be back to Our City, Our Voice. Welcome back to Our City, Our Voice. My guest today, the amazing Saundra Robinson Green. We're talking about the Connected V.I.N.E. What does the Connected V.I.N.E. stand for?
The Connected V.I.N.E. stands for Victors in Need of Each Other. I basically came up with the motto because the Connected V.I.N.E., being connected to the vine of God. My favorite scripture is John 15. I am the vine, you are the branch.
Yes.
And again, as I stated, as long as the youth stay connected to me and I stay connected to God, it's a win-win situation. So you are not a victim, you are a victor.
Right.
If you are in the Connected V.I.N.E.
That's beautiful. So tell us a little bit about what you do. Well, how does the program work?
Okay, so the Connected V.I.N.E., basically we service or have advocated for and assisted youth and families within Jersey City and now Hudson County. Our funding source is through the Youth Service Commission, and we write grants. We have gain the knowledge and
Good.
become very, very, educated on how to write the grants, go for the grant funding, and we have been very successful. I have had the privilege of receiving the violence prevention grant for 6 years.
Okay. Wow.
And we were at Booker T. Washington Apartments, of course, where I am born and raised. And we actually took the program to the youth and families there at Booker T. We service our families based on need.
Okay.
And to try and assist and aid them in knowing their rights, especially when it comes to education, and fighting for those youth who have actually got into some type of trouble with the law, and they're trying to integrate back into the school system. And some of it has been successful, and then we have stories that are not so successful with that. We have also cultivated a program called V.I.N.E Prevention. And that's basically on the lines of, we had several programs where we do social emotional learning.
Okay.
And also,
Key. Very
yes,
important.
yes, it is. These are the issues and the topics that are not being discussed.
True.
And especially, we had the privilege of working with the Jersey City Board of Ed and just going into the schools to offer social emotional learning. And we look to continue that in the future. These are topics that our youth face that nobody is talking about. Aside from the educational system, there are real life issues that our youth face. And we found that through programming, through reaching them with our healing circles, when they start to so-called crash out, and I say crash out because that's the terminology the youth use, just kind of meeting them where they are, building a rapport of trust within these families. And as you are aware, we have sat in many living rooms still today, from 2017 up until now, sat with the parents or guardians, assisted them, helped them, aided them, and gotten these youth. We've had them since they were in 4th grade.
Wow.
And now we have maybe 5 or 6 college, those who are in college now. So the work that we do is not new to us. You know, with the Connected V.I.N.E, most people know us in the community for the service we bring, especially the field trips, more so the pizza and the food, but creating a safe space and an environment for them to be them, for them to be open, for them to share what is actually happening without judgment.
So where do you do your field trips? What kind of field trips do you do?
Oh, well, first and foremost, through the Connected V.I.N.E, we formed our executive board. So we have an e-board, and that's based on Robert Rules of Order.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so we have the president, secretary, vice president, and, you know, all of the officers' positions. And we do a leadership retreat every year. We take them to the embassy suites where we swear them in January, and they have to take an oath to the Robert Rules of Order, and, you know, just to state that they vow to hold that position until the next year.
Beautiful.
And basically, they have grown in such a way where they plan out their trips.
Nice.
They are the big brothers and big sister to the younger siblings in the group.
That's nice.
Our population we serve is from 8 to 24.
Okay.
Of course, I take them younger because they bring them to the meetings.
Right, you don't turn them down.
We don't turn anyone away.
Well, they like movies. You know, my friend owns a movie theater, right?
Yes, and we said we were going to
So
capitalize
whenever
on
you
that.
want to do that, you want to do
movies.
that. In fact, this Sunday, which will probably, we won't air till after that, Daniel Ali, who is Glenn Cunningham's nephew,
Nice.
is premiering a film at the at Cityplex 12 in Newark.
Well, let's make it happen.
So yeah,
we definitely need to make it happen. But these youth,
whenever you need it, it's there.
Yes. So the biggest thing they love to do is skating.
Okay.
But they also love to go away. Okay. And we do Dorney Park. We do college tours. We have gone to Howard University.
Wow, that's great.
We've taken them out there. We've gone to the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. We've basically just kind of expound. We have a mental health walk from
Oh, wow.
McDonald's down to the waterfront.
Oh,
So
great.
we do
That's
it all when the weather breaks.
Well, the
When the
weather's
weather
breaking
break-
now.
yes,
The
yes.
weather's breaking now. You talked about reintegration, right?
Yes.
Like, so we have reentry.
Yes.
The Hudson County has a reentry program for adults.
Okay.
But I don't know what we have for reintegration of youth, right? And if you
There's
take
nothing.
if you take a young person who found themselves in a detention facility and you put them back in an environment that got them in trouble to begin with, what's likely to happen, right? So talk about your just thoughts about what we need to do as it relates to reintegration educationally as well as just environmental-wise.
Okay. So currently, I am happy to share that I am the educational advocate for the Juvenile Justice Commission. And our educational advocates meet with the youth one-on-one. It's referral-based, and that's the only way they can get into our program. So we have a partnership with the probation department, and we constantly check in once a week with our youth for compliance levels.
Sure.
And most of them are compliant on a regular basis, but I have had many barriers with getting them back into school. They have been encouraged to drop out because they are 16. They can sign themselves out. But what I found in working with them, oh, Miss Saundra, I would love to go back to school. And then when going to try and re-register them back into school, oh, their mom have to take off. But their mom wasn't needed when you encouraged them to sign out. That's one. So it's a barrier trying to get them back in. They are deemed as, the problem youth that most schools do not want them back in because they're going to cause more problems, so it's said, without giving them a second chance.
Right.
And a lot of the issues that we face is the fact that they cannot get jobs.
Sure.
And
Sure.
the biggest barrier is it's a safety concern.
Right.
Because of maybe whatever they were into, whatever their charges were, they are not allowed to enter certain areas of Jersey City for fear of losing their life.
Right.
So without, going into detail, these are some of the obstacles we face. So what we do as educational advocates, I am proud to say that I have 7 who are now ready to take their permit test. I've been training them and just going through the driver's ed book to get them prepared for the test. I've gotten them their state ID. A lot of the families right now, again, I have families who are displaced. You are aware of that.
Sure.
I shared with you
Yes,
who
we
are
work
staying
with
in
that,
the
yes.
hotels.
Yes.
And these are the youth of the families who are in the educational advocate program. But we have to dig through so much mud to just get them to the point where we can focus on education, which is not being done. A lot of them homeschool is not allowed without the proper diagnosis.
Right.
And it's been very difficult to actually get them into a regular public school, whether it's their homeschool or whether it's an alternative program. Alternative program meaning Youth Corp or Job Corps and or Task for the state of New Jersey. And they renamed it the New Jersey Educational, GED and program for those who are going for a high school diploma. It's not even a GED program.
Right.
It's a high school diploma. So
it's like an alternative high school diploma. I remember.
Yes, most of those students cannot pass the placement exam. They've been in detention. They've been there for a year or more, maybe less, but the reading and the math, they are failing.
So we only have a little more than a minute left, and we might have to do another show at another time, because I think that's critical. If you take a young person who gets in trouble and gets detained, and while they're detained, you let their reading and math skills deteriorate, right? Rather than finding a way to get them to catch up and motivating them to do that, you just let them, now they're further handicapped when they try to get back into a school, right?
Yes, and the goal is to not to have them recidivize.
Correct.
We don't want them to go backwards.
But if you don't
But-
teach them to read and
Right?
write and do math while they're in school or while they're in a detention facility, then you're going to make the recidivism even higher, right? I mean, there's not much we can do about it. We only have like a half a minute to go. We're going to have to do another show because I think we talked about this. I think you may have to file a lawsuit against the state of New Jersey when it comes to youth in detention facilities to make sure they have a thorough and efficient education. I got to wrap up. My guest was Saundra Robinson Green. We're going to do another show. I'm Bill O'Day, Our City, Our Voice. Goodbye.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.